So, a warm good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to this webinar, a collaboration between the Mindfulness Center of Excellence and Anthony Fidler. And we're here today just going to have a bit of dialogue about a project that we're embarking on at the end of this year in November called Weathering Storms. This is looking at different ways of managing non-ordinary states, of looking at broader traditions to help us understand how to heal body and mind in an integrative way. And of course, a big focus of the work of the Mindfulness Center is really about trying to listen deeply to people who have real expertise and experience of how to use mindfulness and related techniques in their own healing journeys. And so really the space for today is to hear a bit from Anthony, who I'll turn to in a moment. And if you're joining us, we'll be answering some questions at the end of this 20-minute or so segment. So you can ask some questions directly to Anthony, to myself. You can ask about the training. We'll say a little bit about that at the end and provide the links. So here we go. So Anthony, welcome. Second time us on a webinar together. We're learning, aren't we, how to use all this technology.
We are, yes. Yes.
But maybe it would be great to start by just hearing from you about, I guess, how your journey started with this work and this project.
Yeah, okay. So around, where does the river start? It goes all the way back through the life, but it got more acute at a university while I was a student there. And there was an awful lot of stress, anxiety, little panic attacks. But I talked with the doctors, but we didn't go into a psychiatric situation there. So I was still holding on. I went out to Asia traveling. But in the next 3 years, as I was doing professional work, there was more stress, and this turned into breakdowns, burnout, a lot of emotional difficulty. And at the time, I declined my doctor's advice with beta blockers, antidepressants. She also wasn't sure, so this was not a clear thing or message. I had a very clear message. The doctor didn't understand my symptoms at the time, so this was a very smart doctor. And I went to see a psychiatrist, and we talked, and the encouragement at the time was that he recognized I was still independent and that I should go and find ways to help myself. And so this was a little interesting invitation to journey from the first contact. So that was 1996 early in the year. And then later in that year, I left my work life, everything that was there. And that started this journey working with meditation, Tai Chi, yoga, body work. The whole lot was already starting, and this was mostly lived out in Asia, where I could live a gentle life and take away the money pressures and the different things around for me. So this started something, but I can't say too much here. But after 3 years, it's almost like something had started to open, and so then this became more. Especially the first time, what we consider psychiatric psychosis thing. But what I found was, in my case, there was an awful lot of spiritual journey, spiritual content things. And so this was not, it was very difficult for me to deal with, but there was an awful lot of growth and positive movement in this thing. And, but still at the time, I was very scared about some of the darker material that was coming up, and so that took me back into seeing a psychiatrist and trying to find help within that. So that created a kind of onset situation, but it didn't seem to work with me. I didn't have a good journey through this for the really about 8 months of contact. With medication and seeing a psychiatrist every week, and we didn't seem to be moving in a positive direction. So I don't know for other people, but for me, it didn't help. And so my doctor supported coming off, and we went through this process. And then in a way, I went back to the previous psychiatrist's advice, and I went back to finding alternative ways, going back into my Tai Chi, into being in the body, having a gentle life, having space, avoiding stress, and learning an awful lot. So there was a lot of research about altered states, non-ordering states, Tibetan traditions, Japanese traditions, Chinese. I would just eat everything I could find to try and understand where these places that I was going to, because it didn't stop. I mean, it continued, but it wasn't there all the time. I was like breathing. So it's like an ocean where you're up in a fairly normal communicative state, and then at times going down in deeper into things. And there were cycles of this every, shallow things many times, deep things every 2 years, where there'd be some whopping big 10 days of going through. And over this time, I started to get more competence and skill, that emotions are whopping through the ceiling, of navigating through this. And this is where we get to the kind of mindfulness type things. I didn't know the word. I was doing Vipassana meditation, Buddhist practices, but that was my mindfulness. That was where I was finding ways to learn, how do I deal with all the emotions inside? How do I get some kind of freedom to choose what's happening when there's on the ceiling level grand opera of life and death and, war film type emotions going on in these experiences, and that they could happen anytime. So any walk down a gentle country lane, everything relaxed, and then it could suddenly change and I might be in one of these states. And so I had to be preparing myself to face this. And so this journey went on for from really 2001 to by 2010, I felt it had stabilized, because it didn't seem to be something which was there. So there's some learning and journey which is going on, and then finding other environments. Like in my case, I used a Japanese teacher's environment, which I now share. We'll see later with touch. I used the Stanislav Grof environments to do something similar, to kind of create a safe psychosis, where we could work through the motions to face things. Because the idea for me was that, oh God, if it comes out again and again in the outside, this is so uncertain, it's so unsafe at times. I didn't know what can happen. So I wanted to do the work to release the emotions so that it wouldn't have to happen in a natural way, but not without support. And so there was this. So there's a long journey and route that's there, and then I guess it's just in the last few years that I've suddenly started to think, is this useful for other people? Is there something, I don't know at the moment. So this is a strange state for me, but the last. It started naturally. I would be meeting people while traveling, and then I find them doing some counseling through their psychosis or something. In India and different places, it happens quite a lot. And so I found naturally that I was starting to share what I was more relaxed with about different things, and people would calm down very quickly. So in a way, it's my life, and I've been living this kind of secret mask for years and years, and then I've slowly been starting to reveal the reality that my life has been a bit bigger than just what people saw in the little mini worlds that they caught me in. So yeah.
And there's something in what you say about how your exploration, let's say, went a bit off-piste from the mainstream model, a very deliberate choice to do that.
Yeah.
Some encouragement from some quarters and support, which is also great to hear.
Yeah.
But then really this idea of having a broader view around the phenomena, not just one model's take on what it means to have these kinds of states or experiences or visual things.
I needed more models. So I mean, I've listened. I mean, I went through a conventional psychiatric, and I can understand some of that. Yeah, but I wanted to see more models. And you get a very different feeling Yeah, the same conversation. I meet some kind of Tibetan. I used to go to Tibetan lamas or whatever after each event, and we'd talk about what had happened. And I get reaffirmed as a human being. With sort of, they'd talk about experiences in a different way. So I use different backgrounds of people to reassure myself.
Yeah, and I guess certainly some of our conversations, sharing some of the more transpersonal work and the work of the Spiritual Emergence Network, which I know that you're connected to as well.
Yeah.
This professionals and people with these experiences asking, in fact, demanding that they are given permission to understand their experiences in a broader framework. But very much we're in transition, aren't we, in terms of
Yeah.
mainstream services, certainly. And I think from your journey, from your, pretty deep dive into a number of models, I guess one of the things that struck me about your work and your more recent work, which is sharing with others, is this idea of maybe creating a map. So do you want to say a little bit more about this idea of sharing and the idea of a map of the mind and how to kind of experiment with this?
Yeah. I'll say a little bit about what's happened in the last 2 years, because there's been this in a way, even from the beginning. So I'll call it an episode. I'm really struggling with language. So spiritual psychosis, psycho-spiritual experience, I non-ordinary state. I don't know. I just need some language which isn't judgmental, which leaves me with we recognize that there's an experience which is not the norm from the normal life as the person experiences. It's not my norm. So in the first episode of this not normal kind of thing, one of the themes, because there's all these themes that come through. Yeah, I can talk forever about this stuff. One of the themes was actually creating a roadmap for other people to navigate through. So in my actual, supposedly my big drama and terrible emotion and whatever thing, I got this big feeling. Wow, this is really interesting. So if I can video what it's like to be in this state and really remember and record everything like it's creating, then I can help create a roadmap which can help other people to go through that in a safe experience and to help people to guide them through that. So, I mean, now I'm looking and seeing, and there's quite a lot of resource from, say, the Stan Grof type people or whatever, using drugs or whatever to get through altered states. So they've done an angle of research. On my level, it was from being in it in the natural way and how it's in. So there was this altruistic urge which came up as one of the themes. And I viewed the themes in these things as kind of life commandments. I've really followed all of the different themes that came up. But that felt like it's been held back for 15 years. It's almost like I've had to be in a kind of incubator. I'm slowly working on my own balance, on my own little ego mind and whatever's there. And it seemed to be that I had to keep doing this preparation inside. And it's only the last 2 years. It's because I started to teach mindfulness. And that contact with people immediately drew on my resources, because I was responding to the people that are coming with deeper stuff.
Yes, and maybe say a little bit. I know you've been working worldwide, so Brazil, Switzerland, Luxembourg, and then we've been here together in London.
Yeah.
So just a little bit about that work, or what people might need to know about those sorts of things that you've been offering.
Yeah. So what happened was, because some of the contact in Luxembourg, I started to work with people with real emotional pain and anxiety, and we were doing it as a kind of peer type group. It was very honest in the way, and this got to the attention of some psychiatrist friends and psychologist people in Brazil that I know, and also a psychologist friend in Switzerland. And so in both cases, they invited me to do presentations. And so this turned into sort of mini little conferences and workshops, using my background, having a whole room of people asking questions, or very interesting open questions on on the experience and everything going through the system and this journey. So the beginning has started with a contact with professionals in both places of all kinds. It was beautiful. And then we've started to do more workshops and practical things from those talking sessions in Switzerland, in a little bit in Milan also. And then in Luxembourg, it's continued on this sort of small scale with just people in the community. And I tried also in the kind of the teenage refugee project, also with some people with abuse and traumas and things. So trying out the practices which I've been using for myself around, we'll see later perhaps, a lot of the movement work and Qigong energy work, connection practices, all with this awareness, deep awareness, and what we're now calling mindfulness in the Western world, which is rooted at the foundation of all the Eastern traditions. So this is, and then we've just started in the UK. So it's come out of our kind of sharing together that there was a letter I published with the British Psychological Society on my kind of journey and experience, especially with the psychiatric time, and then a little conference there meeting, and then yesterday at Dragon Cafe. So this is all really fresh and new. I was very excited yesterday to have this room full of creative people to start to explore in a very simple way, just having connection and touch, being together, emptying the mind. So this was very nice.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, Dragon Cafe, a very unique and special place here in London, a pop-up cafe and healing creative space that really lives and breathes this non-judgmental, no expectations, but invitations to do some deeper work on ourselves, no matter what our background or our circumstances. And so we ran there just an hour-long version of what will be running actually as a full day, November 16th, right? 16th, yeah. Friday the 16th at Jamyang in South London, Elephant and Castle. And so this is a collaboration between Anthony and myself. So again, he went out into the world and discovered many, many, many techniques. He's been doing this own sort of interdisciplinary mingling in his own mind, trying to kind of really capture the techniques that have worked for him. And as he said, meeting people, just sharing basic practices. What can you tell to the guy that's sitting next to you on the bus who's having a panic attack, right? We can't all have access to the resources that we need maybe to help ourselves, but there's lots that we can do for ourselves with a little bit of guidance. And that's certainly the ethos of the Dragon Cafe, which is what can I try to do for myself, even if it's not quite right, even if I don't quite know if it's going to work or not. And also what can I do in community and connection with others. So we're sort of blending together some of the understandings from the work that I do, from the work that Anthony does. Key frames are about psychological safety, going at your own pace, but taking a few risks, knowing that we're all sort of taking the same steps, even though we might be at different places and our experiences might be a bit different. The process of change and development is something that we can all share together. And one thing we're really going to be inviting in this workshop is try to have this flat structure, again inspired by the Dragon Cafe. Everybody's the teacher and the student simultaneously. Of course, Anthony and myself will be kind of holding the space for people, but absolutely recognizing that we are using these techniques for ourselves, and we're also in the process of dialogue and sharing our own experiences of the challenges of doing this work, whether you're kind of the one in the white coat or the one on the other side of the table. So there is an opportunity to ask some questions. We're going to pause the video now. I'll pull Anthony in for just some final comments in a second. But we'll be online answering questions. We've got another date in the diary, which is a Q&A. Have you got that to hand, Anthony?
Let's just see.
Have a look for that while I just...
It's on the 25th of October.
So 25th of October, just another chance for anybody that wants to check in.
7:30 in the evening.
7:30 p.m. I'll put that on the Mindfulness Center of Excellence webpage. So just, again, if you want to ask questions, if you want to talk to us, if you want to get a bit more of a sense of what's going on. I'll be posting things on the Mindfulness Center of Excellence, some of the videos of Anthony doing his work. He's got quite a few YouTube videos, so you can really check it out and see. It is different. It is different. That's the beauty of it. But if we can travel together into this unknown territory, we've got this expert here of unknown territory travel. So it's a really great opportunity. So just final comments, Anthony, and then I'll pause the video and go to questions.
Yeah, so I'm very interested in this November event to have this mixture of people together, and we'll try out the practices and do. So we're doing research. We're seeing how does this feel inside ourselves, and see also so this feedback from all of the different people will be interesting, and then we'll have time to talk about it and see what can be taken from this, what can to add more vitality to. Or alternatives to the different services to help people. So it feels very fresh and alive, and it's interesting to have different approaches to bring new life into things and see what's possible. So I'm very excited about the day. Yeah.
Okay, so if you've enjoyed this video, please please share with anybody that you think might be interested. We have a limited number of slots for the workshop, but contact us because we can always run another one, or we can come to your service and run something. So just feel free to share this video to anybody that's on board with doing things a little bit differently and broadening the aperture of our models and our understanding. So signing off now, and thank you very much for your attention. I wish you a good day, good evening, good rest, and some courage, some curiosity and compassion. Take care.
Okay.